Tapestry crochet is a technique that essentially lets you draw pictures out of yarn. Isn't that cool? Hey there, I'm Lindsay with Off the Beaten Hook, and in this tutorial we are covering everything tapestry crochet. What it is, how to read the patterns, how to make the patterns. So, you ready to try something new? With tapestry crochet, you'll always be using 2 or more colors of yarn to create a picture or a pattern on a flat piece of fabric. It can also be referred to as colorwork, Intarsia, or mosaic crochet. Now, technically, each of those is a different technique, but those terms are used so interchangeably that I did just want to mention that here. Tapestry patterns will most of the time be accompanied by some form of grid or graph, which depicts the image that you'll be making on your project. And that grid may also be accompanied by written instructions in the form of words and abbreviations, just like traditional patterns, or in the form of color blocks, which is the type of instructions that I use with these. Tapestry crochet can be worked in the round or in rows, whether turning or all rows in the same direction, and it works really beautiful for blankets, wall hangings, bags, anything that can really celebrate that image that you're making. So in this video, I'm going to show you how to read a grid style crochet pattern, and I'm going to show you 2 different color work methods for changing your yarn with this technique. The Intarsia technique, where you're using multiple balls of yarn, versus the second technique I'll show you, where you carry your yarn along underneath the row of stitches that you're working. And that technique really works better when you're just working with 2 colors at a time. Carrying more than 1 color is going to create this like bumpy, thick row, and it's going to show your yarns underneath, which is just like not what you're going for. Now, while you're here, I would love it if you would subscribe to my channel, like this video, and if you hit that little bell icon, you'll be notified when I release new videos, which may be free patterns or technique tutorials like this one. And your support means everything to me. I just want to say thank you. Thank you for being here. So you ready to give it a go? So this is the pattern that we will be doing together today. So let's first talk about how to read a graph or a grid style crochet pattern. So you're going to have a grid, just like Excel spreadsheet or Google Sheets or something similar, anything that has these little boxes. So in a grid style crochet pattern, each of these little boxes represents one individual stitch. This can be single crochet, it can be half double crochet, it can be any type of stitch. We're going to be using single crochet. That's what will produce a square. A half double crochet has taller stitches, but they're the same width, and so you would end up with a taller graph, and the same with double crochet would be even higher. So each of these little boxes represents one single crochet. The colors represent the color of yarn you will be doing that single crochet in. So as we're working this grid, we'll be using 3 colors. We are working from the bottom up on this one. You'll see your row numbers here. And the reason why they alternate like this is because this is a turning style graph. So we're going to be working in turning rows. Not all of them are like that. That's what this one is. So we were going to start with row number 1. And if you are right-handed, you're going to read the graph from right to left for row number 1. And then from left to right for 2. Then you're turning. You're going to read it from right to left for 3. You're going to be turning, so you'll read it from left to right. So basically, if you're right-handed, you're going to be working from right to left for all of these odd numbered rows. And then you're going to be reading it from left to right for all of the even numbered rows. If you're left-handed, that's going to be opposite. So for row 1, you're going to start from left and you'll read it to the right. And then you will go like that, opposite direction. So this graph is telling us that we are going to have 20 stitches across. This is counting the columns down here. So we have 20 stitches, and then we have 20 rows. So it's going to be a square, 20 stitches by 20 rows of single crochet. That is how you read the graph. Now, there are a couple different ways that you can work your color changes. I'm gonna cover 2 of them, which are the 2 that I use most often, and that is number 1, working with multiple balls of yarn, and number 2, carrying yarn across. So I'll show you how I do both of those. I'm gonna start this graph because I have this one solid block in the middle. I'm gonna start the graph by using 3 balls of yarn. I'm gonna use a blue, and then blush, and then another blue. This way I don't have to carry my yarn across while I'm doing this mug in the middle. I can just drop the blue, work the red, pick up the second ball of blue on this side, and continue in that way by dropping and picking it up. When I get up here and I start to make more color changes, and certainly when I'm doing the steam, I will show you how to carry your yarn along and how to make those color changes nice and neat when you're working with a grid that has a very clear front side and back side, or right side and back side. And in this grid, it is right side when you're working the odd numbers, and it's the wrong side or the back side when you're working the even numbers. For my patterns, which this is one of them, I also always provide written instructions, and I do that in the form of color blocks. And so the way that I do that is for here, for example, for row 1, we're going to be working 20 stitches in blue. So when you look at the color blocks, this is indicating 20 stitches in blue. So the color that you see the block filled with is the color of yarn that you'll be using and that you'll need to change to after that many stitches. So this little arrow shows me that I'm going to be working this direction for row 1, which is the right side, 20 blue stitches. And then for row 2, I'll be working in this direction, which we've already talked about, which is the wrong side for 20 blue. And then for row 3, we're going to again work in this direction, and opposite if you are left-handed. This is for right-handed. We'll be doing 8 blue, then we'll switch to red for 6 single crochet, then we'll switch back to blue for 6 single crochet, and on and on and on, alternating. So I always provide written instructions as well in case that is easier for you. It's like I've already counted the blocks, so why make you do it again? So you can kind of use both as you use these patterns. This will tell you exactly how many stitches rather than you having to be like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 and do that counting all along. I just find this to be a good supplement to the grid style patterns. Let me show you a sample of what this is going to look like. I did already crochet this little mug, and I realized that you just can't see the steam very well because I use this really light blue color, and I have not blocked this. But this is ultimately the little tapestry that we're going to make together in this tutorial. I'm using a size 4mm hook with a DK weight yarn. The beautiful thing about grid style patterns is you can use any size yarn and any size hook as long as they pair appropriately together. If you use a larger weight yarn, it will be a bigger sized tapestry. If you use a smaller weight yarn, it will be a smaller sized tapestry. For example, this little one with 20 stitches across, made with DK weight yarn, before I've blocked it, measures about 5 inches across. So you might want it to be really big, and you can use a heavy bulky weight yarn, which would be fun as well. So what I'm going to begin with, like I explained, is I'm going to go ahead and begin with 2 balls of the blue. Mine's actually more of a green color, so not to be confusing, but I'll be using this color for all the squares that are blue. I'm using this blush color for the mug, and then sort of a really light gray color for the steam coming off. So I'm going to be, you can either use small balls if you are going to use multiple balls, and that method works really well when you have a solid image. So when you're changing colors a lot, carrying your yarn along is going to be a way better method. But when you have one solid image in the middle, I'll show you another example. Like this little tree that I did, I used 2 balls of this natural on the outside and then just 1 ball of the green in the middle. So anytime you have a solid center image, I love not having to carry my yarn if I don't have to. So you can certainly carry it along. It's quicker for me if I don't have to. Rather than winding a couple small balls of yarn, I'm actually going to be working from the center pole for one side and from the outside of the yarn for the other side. So the first tip is go ahead and prepare all your yarn to begin with. Get it all laid out. It can tangle up a little bit. It's not a big deal if you stop every few rows and unwind your colors. That's just part of tapestry crochet. You kind of have to be patient with your yarn as you work it. All right, so we're going to start with a foundation chain. Now this is, again, it's 20 stitches across, which means with the single crochet, we're going to chain 21. Because if you remember, you do not work that very first chain from your hook, so you always want to chain one more. So I'm going to go ahead and chain 21. (19, 20, 21). All right, so that does not count as a first row. That's just your chaining row. All right, so referring to the graph, we have 2 rows of single crochet in this blue color, or again, the green color that I am using. So I am simply going to begin in that second chain from my hook. So not that first chain, we're going to skip that first one, and I'm going to make my first single crochet in that second chain. I always use the back bump. It's just a cleaner edge for me, leaving less little gaps along the bottom. All right, there is row 1, tiny little row. We have 20 single crochets. To turn, I am going to chain 1, and I'm going to turn my work, and I am now on the back side. I am going to work row number 2, which again is 20 single crochet all the way across. So we'll go ahead and whip that one up and meet you at the end of that, because row 3 we are going to start to do some color changing. Right, we've got the second row completed. Again, 20 single crochet all in this one color. So now we are on row 3, and this is where we see we're going to do a little chunk of red for the bottom of the mug. Now this is where I bring in my color block written instructions as well, so that I do not have to count each individual box. If I look here at row 3, I'm working in this direction. It's the right side, and I am going to be doing 8 single crochet in blue, 6 single crochet in the red, and then 6 single crochet in blue again. So I am going to show you as I change the color here how that is going to work when you're working with multiple balls of yarn of the same color. So I'm going to go ahead and begin. All right, so I'm going to chain and turn my work. I'm going to be doing my 8 single crochet, 1, 7, and then this is 8. I'm going to pull up, and instead of yarning over and completing that stitch, in order to change my color, I'm going to drop that to the back, to the wrong side, because again, I'm working the right side. I'm going to bring in my mug color. I'm just holding it on the back there. I'm going to complete that single crochet with the red, because whatever color you have on your hook is going to be the color of your next stitch. All right, so that completed my 8 single crochet to start that row. Now I've got 6 single crochet in the red color, and because I'm working with 2 balls of yarn at this point, I am simply going to just drop this this greenish color to the back. I'm not going to carry it along. I'm going to show you how to do that next, but for now I'm working with 2 strands of yarn for my green color. So I'm going to drop my green, and I'm going to just work my 6 single crochet with the red color, 4, 5, and then again 6, since I'm switching back to blue for the final 6 stitches of this round. So we've done these, and then we just did the bottom of this mug. Now we're going to complete these final 6 stitches in the green color. I'm going to switch to my other ball of yarn, or the other side of my ball of yarn. So I'm not going to complete that stitch because I'm changing colors. I'm bringing in my other ball of yarn, grabbing it from the back, and completing that 6th stitch in my green color. So I've got the 6 red, and now I'm simply going to finish my row, which is 6 of this greenish blue. 5, 6. All right, so row 3, that is the right side. So changing colors is a little bit different when you're working on the wrong side. So I'm also going to do row 4 together with you. So let's go ahead and chain 1 and turn. All right, so where are we at for row 4? We're still working the blue color, the red color, and then the blue color. Okay, we're reading the chart from left to right this time. If I'm referring to my written instructions here, I have got 5 stitches for the blue, or again, my green, and then we've got 8 stitches for the red, and then 7 stitches for the blue color again. We are working on the wrong side as indicated here, and this is the little arrow that's showing us what direction we're working. All right, so I'm going to begin with my 5 stitches of this green color I'm using. 2, 3, 4, and here is 5, but I am switching colors. The way that works when you're working a wrong side is we want to keep all of our color changes to this wrong side so that our front side is really nice and clean. So what I'm going to do is as I drop my yarn and pick up my red color, I want to keep that yarn dropped to the wrong side. So I'm going to bring it over to the front of the work that I'm working on right now, which is the wrong side. And then I'm picking up the red, and I am going to complete my single crochet in that red. Make sure not to pull that too tight or it will start to pucker. Just leave that leave the slack a little loose right there. Okay, so we've just brought our working yarn to this side of the work, which is the back side of the work, and we'll pick it up from that side as we work our next row. And then I'm working my next, what does it say? 8 single crochet in this red color. So 1, and here we are on our 8th stitch. We're not going to complete it because we're going to be switching back to our green. So we have our other ball of yarn, which we dropped on that side. It's just sitting there waiting for us. Okay, so when I drop my red, I'm going to bring it to the wrong side of the work, which is the side that is facing me for this row. Pick up my new color, complete my stitch in that new color. And then to complete my row, we are doing 7 more blue. 7. Whether you're reading straight from the graph here, we are on row 5. So you can either count your little squares as you work across, or you can refer to written instructions if they are provided for you. Here we have 6 blue, 10 red, 4 blue. All right, so you're going to continue on reading your graph. I'm gonna go ahead and finish up this mug. I will show you the carrying method when I get to the steam. Let's go ahead and chain 1, turn your work, remembering to keep all your color changes on the back on the wrong side, which is what I'm going to do as I continue to work this. I'll see you after row 11. All right, I am back. I just finished row 11. One thing I forgot to tell you is I do cross my rows off as I go along, which I wasn't doing previously, and I started to get a little bit confused, like, which one am I on? It's easier for me that right when I finish that row, I just cross it off. That's just a little bit of a tip if that's helpful for you. So after row 11, which I will cross off, we are now done with our red color, and we are also going to be done with this side of the green yarn. So I'm going to snip both of those. I'm going to clean it up a little bit. Okay, so let's get started on row 12. So I am going to take a look at my chart here. Okay, right here is row 12. Okay, we're reading it from left to right. We're going to be changing colors several times from the white to the blue, starting with 3 blue, 1 white, looks like 6 blue, 2 white, so several color changes on that one. And that is going to mean that carrying my yarn is probably going to be a better strategy for me in this area. Okay, so after round 11, I'm going to go ahead and chain 1 and turn. And again, beginning with 3 stitches in blue, 1, 2, 3. Okay, I am going to bring in my white on this stitch. I am on the wrong side of my work. I can tell because it's messy. I can also tell because I am on an even row, and that is always the wrong side. So when I do my color change, again, I'm bringing my yarn to the inside or to the side of the wrong side of my tapestry. Okay, then bringing in my color for the steam and completing that third stitch in that color so that my next color is white. I'm only doing one stitch in that white. And so when I go in to make my stitch, it's just a really, really quick color change because I'm not even going to complete that full stitch because again, I'm already switching back to my green color. And so I'm just dropping that and finishing my one white stitch. So I didn't have to carry it along on that one, but I'm going to go ahead and show you how to carry along your yarn now. So what I'm doing next is I am doing 6 blue. So I'm going to carry my white underneath so that it's there with me ready for when I need it. So basically I'm just going to hold my yarn against the color, again against the back. And when I complete my stitch, I'm doing it over top that white color. So every time I do a stitch, normally you do it just like this, right? There wouldn't be anything carrying along, but I'm going to make that stitch around the color that I am carrying underneath. I'm doing 6 stitches, so I've done 3, 4, 5. Okay, and here is 6. So I'm going to be switching to my white. So for this color change, I'm just going to go ahead and drop my green color for now. I'm going to complete my stitch with that color that I was carrying. And now what I'm going to do is bring that green color to my wrong side again. And I'm going to be making my next stitch in the steam color, which is the color that is now on my hook. So I'm going to hold that yarn tail to the wrong side. And how many stitches do I need to make of the white? So I've done 3, 1, 6. I need to do 2 stitches in my white color. I'm not going to carry, if I'm doing 2 stitches, I'm not going to carry this along. I'm just going to pick it back up when I'm 2 stitches down the road. Not worth it to me to carry it if it's like 2 or 3 stitches. Okay, so 1, 2. Bringing this to the back, over top my other color. And this one's going to come up underneath. And I'm going to complete that second stitch in the steam color. Okay, what's next? I've got 2 of my blue. So again, I'm not even going to worry about carrying it. I'm just going to do 2. I'm just going to drop it. I'm going to bring this one up underneath. And I'm going to complete my stitch in the color of what my next stitch needs to be. Okay, so lots of color changing. Okay, where am I now? I've got 1 stitch of the white. And finally, 5 stitches of the blue. So again, I don't need to carry my yarn along because this is going to bring me to the end of the row. And then my next row begins with that color. So I'm not going to need the white. The white's just going to sit right there and it's going to be ready for me when I need it, when I come back around. 5. So we carried our yarn for a little while. Sometimes we dropped it. We carried it along these ones. I usually carry it if it's more than 3 stitches. That's just personal preference. All right, but I'm going to show you how to carry it one more time and we will get on with this pattern. So that was row 12. I'm going to go ahead and cross that off. I'm going to do row 13 with you. We're going to carry our yarn along again when we get to this 5 stitch chunk. Again, when it's 2, 1, 2, I'm not going to worry about carrying it in there. I'll carry it here so that it's ready for me when I need to do these 2 stitches towards the end of the row. Okay, so we're beginning with 5 of the blue color. One, 2. Okay, I'm going to be switching to the green color here, and this is where I'm going to carry the yarn along the back side of my work, because I'm going to be doing 5 stitches in the blue, and then I'm going to need my white again, and I want that to be carried right underneath. So here's what you're going to do. You're going to grab that white yarn in the back. You're going to hold it against the back of your work right along that top row of stitches that you're going to be working. And when you make your stitch, you're going to be bringing it inside of your yarn over there so that it's hidden underneath. All right, so again, right across the top so that you're making your stitches just over top of it. And it's just being carried along. So just keep it along the top of that row or just right behind it. Okay. How many? 1, 2, 3, 4, and I needed 5. So 1 more stitch carrying along. Okay, so then that's the 5th of my green color, my blue-green color. So I'm going to drop that, and then my white is right there ready for me because I've carried it along. So yarning over, bringing that through. Okay, all right, so then we're going to do 2 stitches in our steam color. 1, dropping that, and finishing our row in the green color. 1, 2, 3. Okay, so now you see the bits of steam coming across. All right, so that was row 13. I am going to go ahead and complete this. Now that you know how to carry your yarn, you know how to drop the yarn, change colors, I'm going to complete the rest of this tile, and I will meet you at the end of round 20, and I will show you how to make the border around the outside, which really will give it just a perfect finishing touch and make it look a lot cleaner than just leaving these jagged edges as is. So I will see you there after row 20. 19 and 20. All right, so we are wanting to do a border around the entire outside. Row 20 is the wrong side, and we do want to do our border facing with the right side. So I'm going to go ahead and chain 1 and turn so that we can do our border all the way around this little square for a really beautiful, clean finish. So what we're going to do is for our border, we're going to do a single crochet border by placing 1 single crochet stitch into each stitch across, 1 single crochet stitch into the end of each of these rows, 1 across the bottom, and 1 going up the side at the end of each of the rows on this side as well. The only difference there is that we are going to do an extra stitch and a chain as we approach the corners so that the corners do not curl in like this. We need to give it a little bit more space as we're coming around the outside. So let me go ahead and show you how to do that. So we'll go ahead and make our way across to this very first corner. So we'll do, again, 20 single crochet stitches across. This is our border. All right, we are approaching our first corner here. So what I'm going to do in this very last stitch is I'm going to do a single crochet, a chain 1, and then another single crochet into this corner. And that is going to give us kind of round the bend here. So 1 single crochet, then I am going to chain 1, and I'm going to do another single crochet into that same stitch at the end of the row here as we turn. Okay, and as we come around this side, now remember, if you're counting, you did just make your first 1 because you did your single crochet in the top of that corner, then a chain, and then you did your first single crochet along this side into that same stitch. So we're going to make a single crochet at the end of that next row. Next row. All the way down. Okay, I'm approaching my corner here. Okay, so at the end of my last row here, I'm going to do a corner. So I'm going to do my single crochet, chain one, and a single crochet all in that same stitch as I make another little corner. Okay, so again, one single crochet under each of these stitches. These are actually your chains, your original chains. All right, I am approaching the very, very end. Now this is where we began. This is the single crochet I'm going to place at the end of that final row. And what I'm going to do, since I already placed one single crochet in the top of that one, is I'm going to end with a single crochet and then a chain. And then I am going to slip stitch to that very first single crochet. And that is going to mirror the rest of our corners. Let's go ahead and snip that, pull it through. Just have to pull that slip stitch tight and it will close up that corner. And there you have it. This adorable little tile of a hot mug, coffee, tea, whatever. Now, I cannot recommend enough that your final step be to block this little guy. So steam block or spray block, you could wet block it, but that probably wouldn't be necessary. If you've never done that before, it's a super simple step that will absolutely change the look of this little tile, make it perfectly flat, perfectly square. I have another tutorial that shows you how to do that. If you've never done it before, I will link to that in the description box. And I will go do that now, and I'm going to show you the difference that it will make between how this little tile looks now, which is pretty darn good, and how it's going to look after I block it. So I hope that tutorial was valuable to you and that after seeing this, you'll be excited about giving it a try and adding another technique to your crochet toolbox. And if you have any questions about this technique or any others, please leave a comment. I would be happy to help.